Known as the crown jewel of Yorkshire, construction on Castle Howard commenced in 1699 and took 100 years to complete. It was the third Earl of Carlisle who kicked off this ambitious project, and he enlisted the help of his friend, the dramatist John Vanbrugh, who was not an architect, to design the building. By approximately 1706, the east wing had been completed, along with the incredibly impressive central block, which included the dome. The dome stands today as a testament to John Vanbrugh's vision, soaring 70 feet in height and painted by Giovanni Pellegrini, one of the leading Venetian history painters of the early 18th century. At this stage of construction, the Earl decided to focus on the exterior of Castle Howard and develop the gardens and surrounding grounds. Although the building was incomplete, it had cost 30% of the Earl's income by this stage. After his death, it was the fourth and fifth Earls of Carlisle who carried on the project, completing the west wing, roof and interior rooms. Welcome to Castle Howard. This is one of England's finest country houses that you can come and visit. Now, it was designed by Vanbrugh, who designed this. He wasn't an architect, but you'll see some photos of the house. And it's incredible. And then because of this, he ended up doing Blenheim Palace, which you see in another vlog. So we'll go explore and we'll take you around with us. Our tour of Castle Howard started by entering what I believe was some type of side entrance and then heading up the appropriately named grand staircase. From here, we walked through two of the formal bedrooms along with their ensuite bathrooms, which I have to say looked pretty amazing. Then it was on to the antique passage, which is a long L-shaped corridor lined with, you guessed it, antiques. These are primarily classical Roman statues. Several are originals, and some date back to as early as the 2nd century. This took us through to the main entry hall underneath the jaw-droppingly impressive dome. While Castle Howard is today still the home of the Howard family, that almost came to an end around World War II. In 1940, Castle Howard was serving as a girls' school when a fire broke out and tore westward through the home, destroying some 40 rooms, including staterooms and the main entry where the dome collapsed. The schoolgirls swiftly threw valuable paintings and other contents out the windows and onto the lawn, saving irreplaceable objects. But after the fire, nearly a third of the building was left open to the skies, and some of the trustees, who believed restoration was impossible, sold off some of the castle's artworks. Further tragedy befell the family as 3 sons went and fought in World War II, but only one returned. Injured and in charge of an enormous property damaged by fire, George Howard could easily have decided it was a lost cause, but instead determined that he would bring the building back to life. Remarkably, George Howard and his wife, Lady Cecilia, led a program of work to slowly restore Castle Howard, and in 1952 it was officially open to the public. Work continues to this day to raise funds and continue restoration of the fire-damaged rooms. Their most recent project, the 21st Century Renaissance, was completed in April 2025, and several newly restored rooms are part of the tour, including the tapestry drawing room and the stunningly beautiful turquoise drawing room. The volunteer staff at Castle Howard were the absolute standout of the visit. They were incredibly friendly and helpful and always willing to share fascinating facts about the house. When we entered the long gallery, one of the volunteers told me the backstory of the flooring. When work on the long gallery commenced in 1801, Britain was involved in the French Revolutionary Wars and the nation was busy building and refitting its navy. The Howard family needed permission to cut down oak trees on their property to use as flooring for the long gallery, and this was finally approved as long as the planks cut matched the dimensions of those used for building the navy. If the nation quickly needed to build some additional ships, they would be able to take and use these planks. Thankfully, the oak timbers weren't needed for shipbuilding, and you can walk across these uniquely sized planks in the long gallery today. We finished our tour of the interior of Castle Howard by entering the family chapel. It's a small space but incredibly beautiful and ornate. It was redesigned in 1870 by the 8th Earl, Lord Lanerton, and you can see it's very rich in its colours, with gilt covering a lot of the surfaces. And what's lovely about this chapel is that it is still in use today. After a delicious lunch downstairs in the cafe, we wandered outside and headed down to the boathouse, where there's a view over what they call the Great Lake. And while we were there, we saw something called Skelf Island, which is the adventure playground, which is for children. Here at Castle Howard, there's something called Adventure Island, and obviously it's for children. I'm not a child, but I have nieces and nephews, so in honour of my nieces and nephews, I'm going to go and cross some swaying tiny little bridge and go to Adventure Island and video it basically for them. Okay, here we go. Oh. Oh, it's really wobbly. Oh, I don't like this. Okay, thankfully we've made it back onto firm ground. I'm not going back over that bridge. And now I'm going to point out some of the attractions on Adventure Island, but I will not be doing any of them. Oh, serious? Okay. It says big drop ahead. What does that mean? Okay. Sorry, too hard. Oh, okay, that wasn't too bad. The swamp. Yeah, Farewell Island. This is so cool. After slightly terrifying myself on Adventure Island, we headed back to the main ground and walked up to what was called the reservoir. I have to say, this was a very steep uphill walk, and then at the top was just a kind of muddy water pond. It was maybe slightly disappointing. And from there we headed through some natural greenery, I don't know if it was called a wood or not, and walked over to the time capsule. So my friend, there's a time capsule buried up here, so my friend wanted us to guess when it was buried. So I've guessed 1983, she's guessed 1970. She's standing there, am I closer? 1982, I got the better guess. Woo woo! What, 2082? When is it opening? 3,982 it's getting open. Not in our lifetimes, obviously. After the time capsule, we walked around to the rear view of the house, and it's a big hedge-trimmed area called the Atlas Fountain because there's a huge fountain of Atlas with the world on his shoulders. Also, I'd like to point out that there's also something called the Boar Garden, which is literally a flat lawn of grass and a statue of a boar, and that's why it's called the Boar Garden. So I don't think their naming was super creative. And then we finished off our exploration of the grounds by going to the walled garden, and that was really a highlight of the whole outdoor experience at Castle Howard. Just incredible number of flowers, shrubs, and lots of little birds as well hidden in the trees. It was just absolutely phenomenal. So I'm no gardener, but these gardens are these gardens are phenomenal. They're huge, and there's all these archways and doorways and passageways that you can walk through, and incredible planters, and there's a literal army of gardeners out and about, like, digging up and weeding and trimming hedges and doing who knows what, because I don't garden, so I don't know. And it is just the most beautiful, beautiful day to walk around these gardens. Having finished exploring the gardens, it was time to drive through Castle Howard's magnificently long driveway and head back to York. I can certainly see why it has been described as the crown jewel of Yorkshire. But as we left this wonderful building, it was the story of perseverance against enormous odds and the genuine friendliness of the Yorkshire people that were the enduring memory of this day.